Metal Talk.
June 4th, 1976. What happened on June 4th, 1976?
I don't think that was the year that Deep Purple came out with the album Come Taste the Band with their new lead singer, David Coverdale, and actually their new guitarist, Tommy Bolin. I don't think that was the date, but I don't know. You got me.
Well, and ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Metal Talk Live with Wildman and Steve. And it's interesting when you put a question out there like that, because I guess the answer would be a lot of things, right? Because, what happened June 4th, 1976? Well, quite a few things happened that day. But can you get into Wildman's mind right now and figure out what he's going for that happened in June 4th, 1976?
I'm guessing you were probably watching Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I'm sure I was. Yes, I was pretty young at that time. But no, June 4th, 1976 was the premiere pilot episode of, wait for it, here it is, The Gong Show.
Oh, yes. And as fans of Metal Talk would know, we really believe that had this show been in existence, had Wildman and Steve as an entity been in existence in the 70s, that we would have indeed been on The Gong Show.
Yes. Now I bring that up not just for the amazing humor that it brings, that as you and I always bring to our fans, Steve. That's just a side note, because we're just naturally funny anyway. You were supposed to chuckle at that or do something, or
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was reading the show notes and I thought it said deafening silence at that point.
But I'm going to make a nice segue here that The Gong Show has a lot to do with our life, because how many of us, if we were given the opportunity to be on a show like that, and it's interesting because The Gong Show is pretty much paved the way for America's Got Talent, American Idol, all of the shows where people come on and do that, right? It kind of paved the way for that. So people would go on. So some people would go on and they would just do something crazy, knowing that they're going to be gonged just for fun.
It was to go on national television and make an idiot of yourself show.
Right, but then others would go on and they would be devastated if they were gonged, because they really believed in what they were doing, right?
Yes.
In fact, I remember the one time when I remember one specific episode when somebody was singing a song and this one lady gonged her. I forget who it was, but it was a famous singer that gonged her. And the girl was so devastated, she said, "I'd like to see you try to sing that song." She got right up out of her chair, walked up, got the mic, sang the song, blew it away. So the contestant was never to be seen again. But you think about, would you like to live a life that would be like being on The Gong Show? In other words, would you like to live a life where everybody's watching you and you mess up, boom, it's over?
I do live that life. I'm a high school teacher.
Oh, yeah. Do they have a gong in your room?
You know what? It may not be a gong, but they certainly let me know when I have messed up. So I live that intensity every day, 5 days a week, just without the chance for a large cash and prizes.
Not even a consolation?
I don't even get a lousy copy of the home game.
Yeah, the nice home game, and then you can stay, and you can sit there and just smile when you lost all this money and just say, "Hey, I had fun." All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you once again to Metal Talk Live with Wildman and Steve. Tonight we are featuring the band Roborn Stowinski, and here is their song called "Take Me There."
Metal Talk with Wildman and Steve.
take me. The power of the Spirit saves me. And I know in my heart your perfect love is all I'll ever need. There's a world that we cannot see. It's a place I want to be. There with you. Reach out, I'll take your hand. Lead me to the promised land. There with you. Take me there. Take me there. Take me there.
Roborn Stowinski with Take Me There. Now, Roborn is a band, Roborn Stowinski. You can find information about them on their Twitter feed, which is at RobornS, at RoEHRBORNS. The reason we are playing them tonight is because one of the things that Metal Talk is all about is we do everything we can to promote the solid Christian music that is out there. And what you just heard, ladies and gentlemen, is solid music, and that's what we're featuring this evening. And speaking of that, there's also a music discovery podcast called the Christian Music Discovery Podcast. You can find information about it at christiandance.eu. And what makes this podcast special is the fact that each episode contains something new for everyone, a new artist, an unexpected change in musical genre, details about the artist, a story behind a song, something that could even change your listening experience the next time you hear a song. So check that out, folks. christiandance.eu, the Christian Music Discovery Podcast. You're looking for new and upcoming music to listen to? That is the place to go, christiandance.eu. It is Tweet of the Week.
So the tweet of the week comes to us from John Flavel. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because John Flavel was an English Puritan preacher, and he lived between 1627 and 1691. You may be wondering, well, how in the world could that guy be tweeting? Well, there is an account in his name, and all of the tweets from this account are quotations from John Flavel's works. And I was really struck by one this week where Flavel had said, "Oh, is your life such a continued throng, such a mad hurry, that there is no time for Christians to sit alone and think on the marvelous manifestations of God in his providences upon their own hearts?"
Tweet of the Week. Incredible. And I'm not surprised, Steve, that comes from a Puritan, because that's one of the things they were known for, was the quietness and listening to God and observing God. And that's something that is hard to find a balance in our day today, because we're so pressured and stressed with so many different places we can go, so much on our calendar. Do we take the time, like that tweet said?
Oh, right. We have so many distractions. And I like the fact also that you focus on the fact that he was a Puritan. And yes, they did focus a lot on the quietness, meditation, and so forth. But I think people have such a misguided understanding of the Puritans, or they think that this was all about, hellfire and brimstone sermons and no joy and so forth. But you look at that quote again. He said, "Is there no time for Christians to sit alone and think on the marvelous manifestations of God?" This is not, is there no time for Christians to sit around and beat themselves up for all the things they've done wrong? No, that isn't what he said. It's to have time to think on the marvelous manifestations of God, those things that make you just marvel, that make your jaw drop in awe when you think about it. And what I love this also, it's not just on the world out there. We can certainly do that. You look up at the night sky right? You look at a beautiful summer afternoon, and you can certainly see marvelous manifestations of God. But he says the marvelous manifestations of God in his providences upon their own hearts. Do we ever just stop and consider the things that God has done in our own lives? And I think if we did that even for a moment, the reaction would be one of silent awe.
Right. It is so difficult to do that. And our listeners could even say, as they listen to us, Steve, how many of them are saying, man, these guys are quiet?
Well, and that's it. I've got music, I've got movies at my fingertips. I've got books and articles and news just a touch of a screen away. And it is so tempting to go into all of that all the time, or to have just a moment, right? You're sitting at a stoplight, you're waiting for something at the drive-through line or whatever, and you just immediately want some kind of information or some kind of engagement. And it's simply because it's there. But what if we didn't? What if you just use that moment, even just a few seconds, just a pause, and use that to reflect? The great thing that comes from that is not only awareness of what God has done in and through and with us, but it also turns us back immediately to praise. Because when you realize what God's been up to in your own life, you can't help but turn that back into praise and thanksgiving.
Right. And I think, and I've heard it said before too, that the reason we don't like quiet is because we're afraid of it. Because sometimes when you are quiet, what's speaking to you when you're quiet? Some would say it's your conscience. And so you want to keep busy and you want to be distracted because you don't want to hear the voice of your conscience saying, hey, what you did yesterday was wrong, or you need to go seek forgiveness from this person, or you need to stop acting that way. And if we keep busy enough, we don't have to worry about sensing that conviction.
Well, and you're exactly right. The thing is, if we feel conviction in those moments, we don't have to worry about handling that or whatever we've been convicted to do. We don't worry that we're not going to be able to go do that. God will strengthen us. God's not going to bring something to mind and then not give us the strength to go do that thing. If he brings to mind some wrong that we have done against somebody that we need to go make that right, he's going to give us the strength. He's going to prepare the way for us to go and make that thing right. But that's also not the only thing he's going to say to us in those moments, right? He's also going to